continues.
It's Personal Finance Wednesday, Part 1. We're talking about the freedom number, the amount needed to generate enough passive income to cover your basic expenses. Joining us to discuss how to calculate yours and what it takes to reach it is Craig Bolanos, co-founder and wealth advisor, VestGen Wealth Partners in Inverness and Downers Grove. Find them online at getretiredstayretired.com. Craig, thank you for joining us today. And imagine someone in your line of work. There's nothing that frightens you more than an amateur with a little bit of knowledge. And in my case, I'm going to cop to that immediately because when it comes to amateur or passive income, I play around with that investment calculator. So if you have $1 million saved up and let's say an annual rate of return by between 6 and 8%, you're generating between $60,000 and $80,000 worth of interest per year. And that could very well easily be someone's freedom number.
It absolutely could. Everyone's number is incredibly different. The problem with the online calculators, the problem with the rules of thumb is it doesn't account for all of the variabilities in life. It doesn't account for a sequence of return risk. What if you retire into an economic downturn? What if you retire into a bear market? It doesn't solve for all these pieces, but I love online calculators. I love the 4% rule. I love the 25 times your expense rule because it gives people a waypoint or a benchmark to determine for themselves whether or not they're generally on track.
Now, what is the 4% rule for the uninitiated?
Well, the 4% rule is a long-standing indicator that simply says if you withdraw 4% of your total portfolio in the first year of retirement and adjust for inflation annually, that's going to provide a high probability that your retirement is going to last at least 30 years. Plenty of academic studies have been done to prove that out, assuming the asset allocation model is appropriate. So if you have $1 million, you can withdraw $40,000 per year from that account safely.
And then when do you start having that freedom number conversation? Because some people, just based on their circumstances, could arrive at that point in their 50s, and some could arrive at that point in their late 60s or possibly when they turn 70.
Well, I think that conversation is a now thing. It's an absolute now thing, regardless of where people are at. But, Rob, what you're hinting to is when does the retirement conversation need to be so much more robust? And I would tell people once you're 10 years out from retirement, you really need to start going deeper with your modeling. Once you're 5 years from retirement, you really need to start thinking about how you're going to integrate your taxes and your retiree health care. Once you're within 3 years of retirement, you really need to be committing to whether you're going to live off of interest, dividends, and income, or whether you're going to use a bucket of money approach to cash flow your retirement. And then once you get retired, you got to make sure you're investing properly. So it's much more of an arc, a journey, than it is a waypoint of any singular time, Rob.
Craig Bolanos, co-founder and wealth advisor, VestGen Wealth Partners in Inverness and Downers Grove. Find him online at getretiredstayretired.com.